Now, to unpack the dynamics inside the White House and among global powers surrounding Gaza, exploring this tripartite meeting between Washington, London and Tel Aviv and what it means for the future, joining us is Ayman ElRaqab, who is a political science professor. Joining us from Cairo. Welcome to Think Tank. Now, Professor ElRaqab, from your perspective, what would you say the significance is of the meeting this week on August 27th, chaired by President Trump? We're going to get into the details of the meeting, but is the meeting in itself significant?
After greetings, of course, the details of meetings cannot be talked about by anyone. It's what is all known that this meeting tackled the the day after the war, the post where how Gaza will be, who will governance it, and how they will rebuild it. Actually, those who discuss Gaza are not anything. Palestinians are not included, whether Tony Blair or Jared Kushner or the U.S. president. To be real, this meeting is to talk about Gaza's future, and there is no any Palestinian representation in this meeting. This is very important. So when we're talking about Tony Blair and what was presented by the British side a week ago, he announced his vision about before the meeting about Gaza. He tackled Tony Blair institution, tackled with Boston organization and Israeli businessmen about rebuilding Gaza, seizing Gaza, and relating this based on Tony Blair said, relating this to what is going on with India. According to Tony Blair Institution, they tackled displacing 0.5 million Palestinians, but there is no chance to rebuild, to give the chance to rebuild Gaza, which is a one in a lifetime, which is rebuilding Gaza based on their vision, the smart, to have a smart city. Gaza that is not being almost being seen on the map is gaining all this interest. It will not gain all of this interest unless there is something behind it.
Well, joining us now, joining the discussion is Ihsan Alkhatib, who is a professor of political science, joining us from Kentucky. Thanks for being here with us, Professor Alkhatib. We're just talking about this meeting that was at the White House this week. Tony Blair was there, of course, former British Prime Minister. Also, he was a Middle East envoy for the quartet. Jared Kushner, also a former Middle East envoy in Trump's first term. What does this mean about the US's approach to Gaza, and also Tony Blair's presence there and his vision for Gaza? What does this signify about Western priorities?
Yes, good afternoon. The problem is that not much was released about the meeting. They didn't release information. They didn't talk to the media. There's the guesswork here about what they intend to do. One thing we know is that that's one of them is the brother, the son-in-law of Trump, and he used to be more involved in policy than before, Jared Kushner. And Blair with his international connections, and he was active in international policy after leaving his position in Britain. So now the question is, what are they planning? One issue that is actually pressing now for the U.S. is the fact that in September you have the UN meeting, and how is the U.S. going to deal with this challenge with the issue of Palestine? But as to the future of Gaza, if there's some talk about investment, but developing it and all that, it's all, I think it's all talk. It's not really reasonable to be planning such the day after, because the council ongoing, 2 million Gaza, the fight continues, and from the even before the war started, before Israel invaded Gaza, the deep state in the U.S. The opinion was that it's not going to be easy for the Israelis. This is not going to be a walk in the park. You have 2 million people in Gaza. Israel will be back down in Gaza, and there'll be guerrilla warfare for years, not days. So I don't see that. I'm really concerned that this meeting will really solve the problem, and that they can develop it, to be something of Riviera, of the Middle East and all that. I don't think that's really reasonable. I think the conflict is still, the fight is still ongoing, and the real issue for the administration now is how to deal with the UN meeting.
Yes, and coming to you, Professor ElRaqab, there has been, as you were both saying, we don't know the full details of the meeting, but one of the things that we are hearing is that there was a proposal, we think, by Tony Blair for some kind of international or shared governance of Gaza after the war. What do you think the implications are of that?
Of course, this proposal is notorious among Palestinians. It's attempts to pressure President Abu Ammar when he was the UK Prime Minister, but and after that, now he has a negative impact, and the voice is unclear. Blair and Kushner, as we said, are partners in putting policy against Palestine. Kushner was on the head of the decade agreement, and now he conducted a session in in Bahrain, and discussed the Middle East future economically, and now they are talking about Tony Blair, who had a role in invading Iraq. Of course, will not will not stop supporting U.S. presidents and officials, and also the UK British news agency who announced Tony Blair's views about Gaza's future. When we talk about the U.S. administration, we don't have detailed details about the meeting, but the joint governance of Gaza is a kind of conspiracy against Palestinian Authority. But we demand to have the Palestinian Authority as the responsible and in charge of Gaza. We don't need international governance. We need someone to separate between us and the occupation. And there is an Arab summit held in March in Cairo, called the Palestine Summit. Took some decisions about Gaza's future. Apparently, they didn't listen to these decisions, and they do not care. We demand naturally to end the occupation, to end the killing. It's now not about the reaction of what happened on October 7th, but now we listened to a dialogue from the U.S. envoy that now Israel has the right to go to any area in the world, kill as they want, invade as occupy as they want, in order to ensure not the reoccurrence of October 7th. What happened on October 7th, that to end the occupation. So ending the occupation is not about the October 7th, but the current U.S. administration gives a green light to destruction and killing. And even Trump promised the Israel in his elections to expand their settlements. This is why they're doing what they're doing right now, because of this promise.
Yes, I'll come to you now, Professor Alkhatib. As Professor ElRaqab mentioned there, a lot of skepticism in Palestine about the involvement of Tony Blair, a controversial former British Prime Minister, not only the architect of the Iraq War alongside George W. Bush, but he's already been a Middle East envoy. He's very pro-Israel. And after all, this whole situation with Palestine and the creation of Israel is Britain's fault in the first place. Do you think someone like Tony Blair's involvement might be detrimental to what happens next and going forward?
I don't think that the fact that Trump met with these two people is such an important and consequential event. I think by the end of the day, the bottom line is this: that if Trump has ideas other than what the Arab plan, supported by most of the world, actually, just to keep Palestinians in Gaza, to have Gaza being governed by Palestinians and developed. That's what the Arab plan is, and that's what the world wants. Even Germany wants to have Palestinians stay in Gaza and for Gaza to be rebuilt. So whatever plans, whatever ideas that Trump has, I think they're very unrealistic, and I wouldn't worry too much about them for two reasons. One, the Palestinians are in Gaza. You have 2 million people are still in Gaza. That's number one. Number two, the fight continues. And that's reality. The imagination is what Blair has in mind and what Jared Kushner have in mind and what Trump has in mind. When Trump mentioned developing Gaza and taking it over and making it like an international destination, all that was seen as unrealistic and even laughable. The key is that you have millions of people in that real estate, as Trump would see it, and they're not going anywhere. And the fight continues. And actually, the world, with the meeting at the UN in September, there's more pressure on the US as to really solving the problem, not continuing to manage it, and let the Israelis create facts on the ground and push the Palestinians to the side piecemeal. And now the Israelis now have went a boiling point situation in Gaza. They want to speed up the process, pressure, and that's why it has become an international issue. Palestine is internationalized now. So the Blair and Kushner and Trump really do not control the Israelis don't control Gaza either. And the recent attack by the Palestinians on the Israelis will increase the pressure inside Israel to end the conflict. And the Israelis are not winning. The matter is not settled for them to be okay. What do we do with this? It's not done. So I don't put a lot of weight to this meeting at the White House.
Okay, well let's talk about what's happening in Gaza itself. Professor ElRaqab, coming to you. We have this situation where Gaza City has been declared a dangerous combat zone. By being declared a dangerous combat zone by Israel, it has very grave humanitarian consequences for the people of Gaza, does it not?
It's apparent that Israel doesn't care about Gaza. What happens in Gaza, on the North Gaza, is clearly announcing that is only not a combat zone, but also they didn't only announce it as combat zone. They also restricted aid process there, and this is not did even take place in tactic poses areas. They don't have any red lines. The other thing, in addition to stopping to hindering the Gaza City, they restricted the aid entry to the north city as well, and to push the population voluntarily to get aid on from the south. This a gradual plan is to displace population, civilians from the north of Gaza, from Beit Hanun, Beit Lahia, and which is about 1,200,000 population. They want to push them to the south, which is already crammed and has no space for them. And the area which includes about 1.2 thousand million in the south. This area on the borders will not be enough. It's only about 10 to 15 kilometers. This is crazy to push the other million to this area. And after displacing the civilians from North Gaza to the south will result in a great prison. This is what they want as their policy, without taking care of paying attention to any condemnation or any calls internationally. They know very much how much aid trucks were being spoiled on the borders. More than 60% of aids are Egyptians. Some countries were only saying flags, were only saying words without any actual aid entering Gaza from them.
And Professor Alkhatib, another shocking development this week was seeing that the U.S. is revoking visas for Palestinian officials ahead of the UN General Assembly. What signal does that send, or is it meant to send?
Yeah, this is the problem, actually. So the U.S. Doesn't support the Palestinians going the diplomatic route. They don't support Palestinians going to using violence as in Hamas in Gaza. So what do the Americans want? But this is not new. In 1988, the U.S. refused to give a visa to Arafat to attend the UN, and then the UN meeting was moved to Geneva for 1 month for Arafat to be able to talk at the UN meeting. So this is the problem with the United States, is that it's managing the conflict. It's not being an honest broker. That's why the problem has not been solved. The world knows that the solution is the two-state solution, and we know how to solve the problem. There's no political will. The Americans pretend to be working on a solution along these lines, but in reality, they're not. And Senator Mitt Romney, when he ran against Obama, Obama was the incumbent at the time, Mitt Romney said, we don't have a solution. All we do, our policy on that conflict is kicking the can down the road. And which was honest from the man. The U.S. has no intention of solving the problem, because they know the Israelis don't want. There are hundreds of thousands of settlers in the West Bank, and the world now is saying we had enough. So with the Saudi initiative, with the other countries on board, there's going to be a meeting at the UN, and now they want to internationalize Palestine again. And try to do something about it. But Gaza is not happy time for the U.S. Gaza is not a happy time for the Palestinians. Gaza is not a happy time for the Israelis. If they think that these people are magically going to disappear, that's not going to happen. That's unrealistic. You have millions of people in Gaza. You have Hamas fighting, and they're able to fight for years. You have hundreds of kilometers of tunnels. This is not. They're living in. The problem with the Israelis is that they're being misguided, and Americans are being misguided with them. Just denying the visa for the Palestinians to come to the UN is not going to change anything, really, because the Palestinians already have a delegation at the UN that can represent Palestine and be there while the issue is being discussed. I think the US is isolated on this issue and with the Israelis, and they're losing the diplomatic battle for sure.
Professor ElRaqab, they have managed to link these visa restrictions to the Palestinian Authority making actions like appealing to the International Criminal Court and also efforts to gain international recognition of a Palestinian state. So this is payback. This is do as you're told, or we won't let you come to the UN, basically, is it not?
When we talk about an experience that it was in that Palestine went through, which was on 74 when Palestine were not allowed to attend the New York General Assembly. It was transferred to Geneva at that time because there is a political will to listen to the Palestinian leader. They said that we came here with the gun in one hand and the will in the other hand. This is the world in 74, but this is why the US administration that can want to control the UN resolutions at that time, they transferred the meeting. They didn't want to relate their decisions with the US. So the demand of on recognition of Palestine means the US administration blackmails Palestinian Authority since the October 7th. And they know very well there is a security of US Palestinian cooperation ongoing to continue on the ground, but they are blackmailing them. But this decision, the sound is very unclear. This decision of not allowing the Palestinian officials to attend the UN resolution is a stigma on the international community as a whole.
Yes, and Professor Alkhatib, you both there mentioned moving in the past. The UN General Assembly has been moved to Geneva. Could you see something like that happening this time, or would they view that as being something that would upset President Trump too much, and they perhaps dare not do it this time?
That was 1988, and Reagan was the president at the time. And the reason they moved it is that they want to encourage the Palestinians to move down that path of peace, and that's why the UN moved the meeting to Geneva at the time. The Americans cannot really exclude Palestinians from this discussion, from this presence, because they're there on the land, and that's their issue. They have to be there. I don't see that happening, moving the meeting. The key is that I don't think the issue is making Trump angry, because Trump doesn't really care about the UN, and Trump thinks that the UN is irrelevant. The same with the Israelis. They think the UN is irrelevant. They don't care about the UN. They say the UN is not important. So I don't see them moving the meeting as a concern for moving it, being a concern about angering Trump. I never see any indications that they will be moving the meeting, but the key is that Palestinians will be present there, and President Abbas can address them actually probably via satellite, via some kind of technology to can address them. But the key is that the meeting is happening. The key is that there is a momentum, a diplomatic momentum behind recognizing Palestine, behind taking this file from the US, that managing conflict is not working. All this talk about, oh, developing Gaza, the Israelis talk about building settlements in Gaza. This is not realistic. This is, if you want one way to look at it, is the crazy talk. There are millions of people in Gaza, the warfare in Gaza for years. The Egyptian position from the beginning was the best position. You have to have the Palestinians in charge of Gaza. Is trying to waste time. He's unrealistic. Oh, let's have some Arab coalition rule Gaza. That's not practical either. You have millions of people between the river and the sea, and this is not the first time they have a round of conflict, violence. Trying to do something about it, and the international community is saying that no more wasting time, no more playing games. Let's meet, let's talk about it, let's see if we can do something about it. The US has failed in managing this file because the US has been managing the conflict, not trying to solve it. And the US has been a dishonest broker. That's the problem. So the world is saying we had enough. We want to do something about it. And the genocide in Gaza has been the momentum behind it, not the October 7 attack. The October 7 attack did not create this momentum as the Israelis claim. It's the reaction of the Israelis out of bounds. The genocide in Gaza is the reason for the momentum on the diplomatic front.
Well, thank you very much, both of you, for joining us here on Qnews. Ayman ElRaqab, a political science professor, joining us from Cairo, and Ihsan Alkhatib, joining us from Kentucky, a political science professor also. Thank you very much for your critical insights into these issues.